All right, welcome back. This is part 2 of our Gatsby tutorial, and just to reiterate, we're creating an effect that looks similar to this. So it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be something that just kind of has this style, this Art Deco gold and silver look to it. So we stopped part 1 with kind of a good place to give you a breather and get your foreground pieces done. So now we're going to work on the background pieces. So I'm going to bring my guides back up, and we're going to do the same process, but we're going to focus more on 45-degree angles. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to switch over to my line shape tool. So if we go back and look at the poster, you'll see that the background patterns or shapes have a much more narrow line work to them as compared to the foreground. See how these are much about almost twice as wide as the background pieces here. So we're going to create narrower lines, and we're going to do some more 45-degree angles and kind of do some interesting crisscross stuff. So go back to your shape tool, and again, the fill, we're going to keep it on white for now, just so we can see our overall lines. And let's go ahead and probably start with your most kind of widest lines that you want to work with. So the weight I have here is set to 10 pixels, and I'm just going to keep working with some 10 pixel weights. So I'm just going to create some more shapes and kind of get these going here. The one thing that you want to look for is the shape tool. It's not really precise. So if you hold shift and drag a shape, it doesn't want to line up directly if you go another direction. So see how our corner is kind of rough here. So you want to just create one, drag out one line, and then just do the same thing where we press Ctrl J and then just go to edit, transform path, rotate 90 degrees, and just really start to kind of match up your edges. The shape tool does work better though when we have our 45-degree angle lines. So you just kind of want to play around some more and get get your overall shapes in. You can keep using the rectangular marquee tool, or you can use the line shape tool. So I'm just going to kind of move this into place, and I'm merging all of my background lines kind of as I go. So let's go ahead and draw in some 45-degree angles. Now again, if you have the line tool selected and if you hold shift, it will constrain the your lines to either a 45 or 90-degree angle, something like that. Let's do some narrower lines. So I'm going to drop the weight down to 5 pixels, and we'll do some thinner lines. And some of these can cross, right? Because in the poster you've got these nice kind of these lines that intersect, which make for a cool effect. And also following some of your original lines is a good idea. Oh, before I forget, let me go ahead and get rid of that one. Make sure that you're going all the way up to your guides if you're making lines that are going into your letters. Don't be afraid to just go straight into the letters, because that's going to be very important later on. So let's go ahead and just keep creating your lines. Feel free to, if you need to just pause the video, and you can do this on your own. I'm gonna go ahead and record this process, but if you've got feel like you got it and are good to go, you can skip ahead, because this is that part where I said it's kind of time consuming and tedious. I'm making sure my angles are correct and all my corners are sharp when I run into a corner like this, and sometimes that does require kind of pausing and fine-tuning some areas. So it is a lot of fun though. It's kind of it's almost zen-like sometimes to just be working with geometric lines and such. So just keep kind of going around. And this one I'll have to clean up, but I doubt all these edges lined up properly. And if anyone knows a way to fix that, I'm all ears, because I've never honestly spent the time to try to figure that out. So we've got kind of like this fork shape going, which might be kind of cool. And some more line work, and I'm gonna go ahead and follow this one like that. And again, I'm holding shift and merging these layers together. So we need kind of a connector line here. So this one, I use the shape tool, but I'm overlapping, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just need to fix that. So one thing you can do is say rasterize layer if you right click on your shape. And I'm just going to go ahead and use my rectangular marquee tool to get rid of that excess, because we don't want random strange looking corners showing up. And let's make some other lines. Actually, I'm going to duplicate that layer, Control J. And we'll just do something like that. So that's another kind of little design trick. If you find something like that that looks good, if you just kind of duplicate it and reuse it, it shows consistency in the design and helps everything just kind of feel more like a family. So if you find little areas where you can do that, that helps the design feel a little more cohesive. It's one of those kind of subliminal things that doesn't really, you don't notice it right up front, but it does overall help the design feel like it all goes together. Let's do a couple thicker lines down here, and let me move that into place a little bit better. So I'm going to have to get rid of that edge. Rasterize layer, select that little corner and get rid of it. Let me move out, zoom out so we can see what we're doing here. And again, please feel free to fast forward if this is a little bit, it is a little bit boring to watch. It can be, especially when you're watching this at at real speed and not speed art speed. It's like, oh, really? That's how long it takes? So you want to kind of keep going. We need some more connecting pieces up here to make our letters feel like they're more connected. So I'm just going to kind of do something like this. Oh, and again, see, I'm messing up. I got to make sure that this is kind of wide for now, because we want to make sure when we duplicate it for the other side, it's going to hit that Y. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. And some smaller. All right. So this isn't really enough, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it a good stopping point so I can show you the rest of this tutorial and not run out of time here. One other thing that you want to do though is they have these little circular areas. So to quickly add something like that, I'm going to show you a quick trick to this. So go to your elliptical marquee tool, create a new layer, and hold Alt and Shift, and I'm going to do it right on the guide here. So if you hold Alt and Shift, you can drag out a circle and then just get it into where you want to place it. So I'm going to create a circle and fill it. Okay. Now go to your layer effects and go to stroke. and we're gonna go ahead and create a stroke on the inside. And so turn it up to where you like it. Change the color to white, and then for blending options, turn the fill opacity all the way down. Okay, so then you can right click and say rasterize layer style. Now we have it in a separate layer, so what we want to do is use your eraser tool and go ahead and get rid of the part that kind of overlaps in it. See that? So that's gonna give us that shape there. So I'm gonna press merge those layers together, kind of like that, and I need to create one more kind of little connector for this circular shape. I'll make sure that the fill is set to white for now, and it's not going to stay white, it's just so we can see it against the black background pretty easily, kind of like so. And again, we're just working on this one corner, so don't worry about working up here. I'm going to go ahead and do one other thing though. I'm going to create an inner kind of circle for this thing, and we'll mimic kind of another look that the poster has going on here. So again, I held Alt and Shift. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to fill that, and I'm going to move it into place so it's center. And this time I'm going to give this one a stroke a little bit narrower on the inside, and maybe just 4 pixels. Again, blending options, I'm going to turn the fill opacity to 0, and the stroke needs to be white for now so I can see it. Okay, so and then I'm going to right click and rasterize that layer style. And then since I know that the stroke is 4 pixels wide, if I take kind of a notch out of the top, kind of like so, see, go back to my shape tool and just kind of drag out another line, and let's kind of cursor that over so we got some straight edges. And then there you go, you kind of mimicked that shape. Now on the poster it's lettering, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're just going to kind of mimic a look to it. So I'm going to merge all these together, and now here comes the fun part. Rectangular marquee tool, select the overlap, the part that overlaps the guides. Just kind of nudge your marquee into place. Do that for the top and bottom, like so. Alright, the easy mode part. I'm going to hide the guides for now. Control J to duplicate that layer. Edit, transform, flip horizontal, hold Shift, and just go ahead and drag it across and kind of nudge it into place. That's looking good. Control E to merge. Control J again to duplicate. Edit, transform, flip vertical, and let's move this one into place. Just like so. I think it's looking pretty cool. Come down just a hair. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to merge all of that together. So now we have our overall design. I think it looks pretty slick. So, all right. This next part goes actually a little quicker than you think, doing the actual texturizing of stuff. The line work is by far the more time-intensive part. So now let's go ahead and create a new layer above everything. And let's pick a foreground color that is kind of a brass color. So I'm going to go ahead and just take some color swatches from here. So this one is CAAE5B, which looks good. And let's pick another one that's a little more yellow. I'm just going to kind of do something like that, I think. Kind of like so. All right, one other thing I want you to notice here is if you can see some of the grain of the metal, the direction seems to look like it goes up and down, or it's vertical. Oh, what's the word for it? Yeah, I can't think of the word. You'll see what I mean. It's like a grain, a vertical type grain to the brass. It's very, very light. So let's go ahead, and we've created a new layer. So let's pick our gradient tool and just go over the entire thing. Now filter noise, if I can find it, add noise, and I have this set to the amount is somewhere around 60%. Distribution is uniform, and I've got monochromatic set. Okay, So now you're probably thinking, why did you make sand? Okay, so now we're going to go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and we're going to blur this at a 90-degree angle. This is where that grain kind of where we looked for the kind of how the grain of the metal went. I don't think grain's the right word, but you know what I'm saying. Distance, you probably want about 50 pixels. Hit OK. Now our edges are kind of miffed a little bit here because it doesn't blur to the edges. So I'm going to press Control T. I'm going to hold Alt and just kind of drag out a little bit. All right. So another quick step you can do to this is to give it a lighting effect. So if you go to Filter, Render, Lighting Effects. Okay, this is in older versions, newer versions, and you just kind of want to play around with this first bit. We're just kind of giving it some depth. One thing you can do, I've got metallic turned up a ways, and this is going to really chew up my computer, but you'll see. Color, I've got kind of like a yellow chosen to intensify it a little bit. And I've got the spotlight kind of dead center bottom. So I'm going to click OK. And then what you simply want to do, well, first we need 3 duplicates of this layer. So Control J, Control J. This topmost layer, let's go to Edit, Transform, Flip Vertical. So we get some variety here. Okay, so let's go ahead and hide the top 2. Now, let's work on this foreground one first. So find your foreground layer, which is that one, right? Now, if you do that trick where you hold Control and click on the little the thumbnail on the layer, you get a selection, right? So we've got a selection. Now, whichever one you want to do first, go ahead and give that a layer mask, and you'll start seeing this come into play here. See that? So we're going to do the same thing on each element. So I'm going to turn this next one on, but now I'm going to do a selection of our foreground elements. That's the wrong one. That one. Apply layer mask. See how we're getting that? All right, and then this last one, I'm going to kind of move it because we want it to just get into the letters a little bit. Okay, so now go back to your original layer, that is the shape layer for your text, and you want to right click, and let's go ahead and rasterize that layer. And I should probably hide this so I can show you what we're doing. So we just rasterized our outline layer. So again, hold Control, click your thumbnail there, and layer effect there. You can see we're already getting pretty close. This is looking pretty cool. So you want to go kind of through and make sure that everything is kind of touching your letters here, and it looks like we missed the Y a bit. I thought that would happen. So let me go through and fix that little bitty piece. See how that one line isn't quite as long as the rest of them? So let me find that shape, and this is where layer via copy comes in, and I'm just going to kind of, there we go, connect it. And I think this was a step that we probably should have done before the brass gold texture part. Okay, I think everything's touching. So now I'm going to do that same thing again. I'm going to get rid of the layer mask I just made, delete, and I'm going to create a new one like so. All right, you can actually toggle off the visibility to your original white shapes here. So let's go ahead and we're going to paint on the mask to get some of these to clean this up a little bit on our background shape. So find your background shape, select the mask, and use your paintbrush tool. Make sure that you're painting with the color black because that's going to knock out the parts we don't want. And then you just kind of want to go on the inside here and get rid of any parts that don't seem to make sense, right? We don't need lines to overlap through things. We just want to get rid of, like, we don't need this. See what I mean? And there we go. That's looking pretty cool. All right. So this is kind of the basics of it. Now, if you want to find a good stopping point, one thing you can do is just, we're going to get into these quick layer effects. So on your text layer, let's go ahead and give it a layer effect that is bevel and emboss. And actually, let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. So bevel and emboss. We want to use a inner bevel. Technique should be chisel hard. Size should be 1 or 2. I wouldn't go much higher than that. I'm going to keep it to 1. Your highlight mode, let's turn the opacity all the way up so we give it an edge, and let's turn the white to more of a bright yellow. So I'm just going to take a swatch, give it more of a yellow. Shadow mode is multiply. You can kind of leave that where it is, just move it to your liking. I'm going to put it at like 82%. This is going to help create that edge there. Alright, so I'm going to right click on that layer, copy layer style. I'm going to right click on my other layers and just go ahead and paste that layer style in. You can see the depth start to happen. That right there is actually looking pretty cool. You can use this just by itself for different effects that look pretty sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this one. I guess this is going to turn into a 3-part thing. This last piece will be pretty quick though. And yeah, it's looking pretty sharp. All right, see you at part 3.